Hello to all the viewers tuning into Mr. Twilight's channel. Welcome to another episode in the series, Nighttime Horror Stories. If you think childhood is all laughter and sweet candy, then today I'll show you the other side where tiny memories turn into lifelong nightmares. In the episode, True 3 Creepy Childhood Stories, we'll flip through the memory album, but instead of sunlit snapshots of children playing, you'll find yellowed photos with scorched edges, hiding secrets that still send shivers down the spines of those who lived them. If you're ready to dive into memories not meant for the faint of heart, turn off the lights, grab your blanket tight, and join me for the very first story right now. Story 1: The Secret Cellar. Bang, bang. A loud thudding echo from behind the old storage shed, cutting through the stillness of the night. Mike jolted awake, drenched in sweat, clutching his blanket by instinct. The wind howled outside his window, but that noise, that wasn't the wind. It sounded more like someone trying to break something, or trying to climb out from underground. Mike was only 9 then, living with his parents in an old wooden house in a quiet suburb of a small Ohio town. But that night, his parents were out at a friend's birthday party, leaving Mike home alone. The house felt disturbingly silent. As the night deepened, Mike grew more uneasy. Creaking noises echoed around him, first from the living room, then the hallway. Light footsteps, as if someone was walking barefoot. But every time Mike mustered the courage to check, no one was there. He turned on every light in the house, except the storage shed out back, which remained cloaked in darkness. That's when he remembered something strange. His parents usually kept that shed locked because it was old, damp, and full of unused junk. But that night, the door stood open. Curiosity got the better of him, and Mike grabbed a small flashlight and stepped inside. A wave of cold, damp air hit him. Amid the dust and cobwebs, Mike spotted a square wooden panel on the floor, like a trapdoor. He'd never noticed it before. A ragged rug covered it, as if someone had tried to hide it. Driven by childlike curiosity, Mike carefully pried it open. The hatch creaked with a haunting groan. A cold draft rose from below, chilling him to the bone, as if another world lay beneath. A rotting wooden staircase led down into darkness. Mike's hand trembled as he pointed the weak beam of his flashlight down. Step by cautious step, he descended, heart pounding. The air thickened, reeking of mold and rot. But this wasn't just a storage space. The ceiling hung low. Crumbling concrete walls bore deep scratches, like someone had clawed them bare-handed. Mike swept the flashlight around and saw disturbing doodlers, faceless figures, glowing red eyes, and chilling scribbles repeating over and over, "I'm watching. Can't get out, they know I'm here." Terrified, Mike stumbled backward. Then, from a dark corner, came a rasping whisper. "Key, cock, can't go out, can't, not allowed." The voice sounded like it came from hell itself. Mike turned the light toward the sound and froze. A figure sat hunched in the corner, thin, skin pale as a corpse, crazy hair covering half its face. As the beam touched him, he slowly turned his head. 2 bloodshot, unnaturally wide eyes stared back. Then, a twisted, grotesque smile spread across his face, revealing a mouth full of yellowed teeth. Mike couldn't move, his body locked in place. The man rose slowly, step by creaking step toward him. The floor groaned under every footfall. Unable to take it anymore, Mike screamed, bolted up the stairs, nearly tripping, slammed the hatch shut, and piled everything heavy he could find on top of it. Then he ran to his room, diving under the blanket until his parents came home. The next day, Mike told them everything. At first, they thought he was sleepwalking or had watched too many horror movies. But when they went down to inspect the cellar together, they found something chilling. The space had once been a wartime shelter, long forgotten and sealed. Signs showed someone had been living there. Torn mattress, canned food, old blankets. Most disturbing of all, photos scattered on the floor. Photos of Mike's family, taken from outside windows, from the kitchen corner, the living room, One photo made their blood run cold. Mike sleeping soundly, the picture taken from right beside the bed, clearly from inside the room. That man hadn't just lived there, he'd been watching them for months, maybe years. He might have crept into the house while they slept, stood silently in the dark, or even touched Mike without him knowing. The police searched the cellar thoroughly, but he was gone, without a trace, as if he'd never existed. Mike's family moved out immediately, but the trauma never left. Now grown up, Mike tells the story with a haunted look in his eyes. He says he still sometimes feels someone watching from the shadows. In his dreams, he sees that twisted smile, hears that whisper, "I'm still watching, I never left. Are you sure there's no forgotten door beneath your house? And if one day you find it, would you dare open it?" Story 2. The Woman by the Lake. You probably held your breath through Mike's terrifying story, but this next tale will push your fear to the limit. Let's begin. That night, the lake lay still, like a sheet of jet black glass. The wind had stopped. The trees stood frozen. A thick fog blanketed the forest behind Emily's grandmother's old cabin. Amid this eerie stillness, a pale figure stood silently by the lake. Her long, tattered dress fluttered, even though there was no wind. Her tangled black hair fell over her face, hiding it from view. She didn't move. She simply stood there, staring straight at Emily's bedroom window. Emily woke in the middle of the night, her eyes still heavy with sleep. But as her gaze passed the gently swaying curtain, she froze. That woman was right there, and just as their eyes almost met, the figure slowly raised one arm, pointing directly at Emily. The woman's face emerged from beneath her hair, pale, misshapen, and with two eyes as black as endless pits. Emily was just 7 years old then. After her parents' divorce, she moved from the city to live briefly with her mother in the countryside, staying at her grandmother's small, weathered house nestled among the trees. Behind the house lay a vast, quiet lake. Emily's grandmother often warned her never to go near it after dusk, but like any curious child, Emily would sneak out in the late afternoon, skipping stones, floating leaves, and pretending to embark on magical adventures. One day, as the sky turned a dusky purple, she was still by the water's edge. A sudden breeze stirred, and the lake rippled, as though someone had just jumped in. Emily looked up and froze. Just across the water stood a woman. Her white dress was soaked and stained with mud. Long black hair covered most of her face. She didn't move. She didn't blink. Emily held her breath. Then the woman slowly raised a bony, trembling hand, pointing straight at Emily. A soft whisper drifted through the air. "Give me back, daughter!" Emily screamed and ran for home. But when she dared to look back, the woman had vanished. She didn't tell her mother, afraid of getting in trouble. But from that night on, the lake haunted her dreams. In those dreams, she stood waist deep in the lake, unable to move. The woman would rise from the depths, face twisted, hands grabbing her ankles, pulling her under. Emily always woke up crying, her bed soaked with sweat. Some nights, she even found muddy footprints at the foot of her bed, though she hadn't left the house. One day, while at the village market with her grandmother, Emily overheard the old women telling a chilling tale. Years ago, a young woman named Margaret lived near the lake. One evening, her 5-year-old daughter slipped and fell in. No one could save her. Margaret was consumed by grief, lost her mind. They say she would sit by the lake every day, calling her child's name. Then one day, she vanished. They say she threw herself into the lake. Her spirit never left. Another elderly woman added, "They say those who stay near the lake too long, especially children, hear her voice if they don't leave in time. She drags them down." Emily's blood ran cold. She knew what she'd seen. The woman was Margaret. After that, strange things happened more often. The lights in the house flickered every night. A shadow moved through the backyard, even when no one was there. Once, while washing her hands, Emily saw the woman in the bathroom mirror, standing behind her. But when she turned, The room was empty. The nightmare peaked on a stormy night when her mother and grandmother were away. Emily was playing alone when she heard a faint rasp outside her window. "Where is my daughter?" Trembling, she stepped closer and pulled the curtain aside. Margaret's pale, distorted face pressed against the glass. Emily screamed and hid in her closet. The knocking started. Steady. Tap, tap, tap. It continued until her mother came home. Terrified, Emily told everything. They brought in a priest to perform a cleansing ritual. From that day on, she wasn't allowed near the lake. The family moved away months later. Now an adult, Emily avoids lakes. Whenever she walks past one, she feels eyes watching her, and she never looks into the water when alone. She says she still hears the sound of water lapping in her ears at night. And sometimes, in her dreams, Margaret returns, her whisper like ice. "My daughter still hasn't come home. Are you sure the whisper you hear at night is just the wind? And if one day you see a figure by the water, will you turn away or step closer?" Story 3. The Stranger in the Forest. Heavy footsteps echoed like hammer strikes in the stillness of the night. Alex jolted awake, his heart racing. The room remained pitch dark, save for a sliver of moonlight filtering through the window. He sat up, listening intently. The footsteps were still there, closer now. He crept toward the window and peeked out. On the narrow trail leading into the woods, a tall, shadowy figure walked slowly toward his house. The man wore a long black cloak. A hood covered his face, revealing only two glowing red eyes, burning like coals in the dark. Alex stumbled back, trembling, but then the figure stopped. He stood motionless, staring directly at Alex's window. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. Alex had grown up in a small town on the southern edge of Canada's forestland, where kids ran free, climbing trees, wading through streams, and playing in the woods as if nature was their backyard. Summers were long and warm, perfect for endless games of hide and seek in the dense forest behind town. That summer, when Alex turned 10, he and his best friends, Thomas, Riley, and Jenna, spent every afternoon exploring. One day, they decided to play an expanded game of hide and seek. Everyone had to hide deep in the woods, and the seeker had 30 minutes to find them all. Alex ran farther than ever before, past a small stream and through dense underbrush few dared to cross. There, he found a large, thick bush, an ideal hiding spot. What he didn't know was those steps had brought him too close. While tucked into the bush, Alex heard it, footsteps, not from his friends. These were heavy, slow, deliberate, like something large dragging itself forward. He held his breath, body pressed flat against the earth. Through a gap in the leaves, he saw a figure among the trees. The man was enormous, wearing a filthy gray, black cloak, holding a long wooden staff wrapped in ragged cloth. He didn't walk, he glided, as if his feet never touched the ground. He stopped, right in front of Alex's hiding place. Time seemed to freeze. Then, slowly, the figure lowered his head and looked directly into Alex's eyes. The man had no face, only darkness beneath the hood, but his glowing red eyes pierced through the shadows, blazing with an intensity that felt like it could burn through Alex's soul. He raised a hand toward Alex and muttered something in a strange, whispering language, like the rustle of wind through dead leaves. Shiel, Vra, Sam, Lasha. Alex felt entranced, paralyzed. His mind spun, his throat tightened. But as the man took one more step, something broke the spell. Alex sprang up and ran faster than he ever had. He burst from the woods, pale and shaking, eyes wide with fear. When he reached his friends, he could barely speak. Minutes passed before he managed to explain what he'd seen. No one believed him. Jenna even laughed. Too many horror movies. Alex, but Thomas's grandfather, an old local who'd lived there all his life, heard the story and turned pale. He pulled them in close and whispered, "If you saw a tall man with red eyes, that's the forest keeper, an ancient being, not a ghost, not a man, something that exists between worlds. Anyone who enters his land without permission gets marked. That's when the nightmares began. Every night, Alex dreamt of being pulled into the woods, his legs frozen, while the sound of footsteps crept ever closer. He kept silent but started drawing, trying to release the fear. His sketches grew more disturbing. A tall, faceless figure with glowing eyes, burning forests, and children hanging upside down from trees. Then, one morning, Alex woke to find a muddy handprint smeared on his bedroom window. 5 unusually long fingers pressed into the glass, as if someone had stood there, watching him all night. Weeks later, a classmate named Max disappeared during a family hike in the forest. Search teams found nothing, but one rescuer claimed to hear a voice calling Max's name. Except, he said, it wasn't a human voice. The police assumed Max fell into a ravine, but the townspeople whispered among themselves, "The forest keeper has claimed him." Alex's family moved away soon after, but before they left, Alex had one final dream. In it, he stood in the middle of a fog-filled forest. The tall man appeared before him. Leaning in close, he whispered in a cracked, thunderous voice, "You saw me, you are mine." Alex never returned to that town. Now grown, he avoids forests. Anytime he passes one, he swears he can feel those red eyes watching. Sometimes, late at night, he hears those heavy footsteps outside his window. And in the morning, there are streaks of mud on his pillow, as if something had stood beside him all night. Would you dare to step deep into the woods, where there's no signal, no light, only darkness and the wind's hollow cry? And if one day you see glowing red eyes between the trees, don't look directly at them, because once you do, he never lets go. So we've just closed the Diary of Childhood, the Nightmare Edition. These 3 chilling tales remind us that in places meant for crayons and peekaboo games, sometimes lie scars so deep they still ache in adulthood. Whether you believe in the supernatural or think it's all just spooky storytelling, remember, childhood is fragile. A single careless moment can turn into a lifelong shadow. So take the time to notice and listen to the children around you. You might just bring light to the corners they're too afraid to name. If you have a creepy childhood memory of your own, don't be shy. Share it in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to support the channel and stay updated with more real-life horror stories. Thank you for spending your time with us. Mr. Twilight will see you in the next video.